much of your time may be put to things that you don't even prioritize or care about. And this can be based off of a system of defaulting to pretty much the age of information that we have currently, where you spend a lot of your time either constantly online, like maybe with this video, any sense of free time that you get, you've formed a habit where you come to YouTube or you go to Instagram, TikTok, when really that isn't something that you prioritize or value that much. It is just something that's really convenient and accessible, and it's a great way to spend time or waste time if you look at it that way. I recently read the book Essentialism, and it's pretty much about less but better. So what you should be doing if you want to form an essentialist mindset or lifestyle is pretty much cut the bullshit. There's a lot of distractions, like I've said, in the age of information. A lot of it doesn't apply to you, and you probably won't get value out of a lot of it. So use your time very wisely, because it is the most valuable asset. In the book, the author displayed the idea that if you say yes to everything and try to do everything, you'll end up pretty much with no visible progress, because it's kind of the same analogy as if you have a pool that is 1,000 feet wide and 1,000 feet long. The knowledge or the depth within that is going to be an inch, compared to if you focus on, well, what I like to do is, or the number I'm thinking is 3 to 5 main priorities. You can really develop within those and see a lot of progress. So that was the main part of the book. And another part was that if you're not controlling your own time, if you don't have, a set of priorities, someone else is going to set those for you, whether that's some content that you're consuming, or, family or friends who you feel obligated to constantly help whenever they request that. But yeah, it's really important to remember that your time is valuable too. Obviously, I think that family and friends are actually one of my highest priorities when it comes to essentialism. So I'd say that I value giving back to those relationships that I have. But with that, there's levels to it, and pretty much the main idea is figure out what is a waste of time, try to cut that, try to focus on that small group of things that you're trying to develop. The book pretty much went, or it was written in a way that was, it was interesting, where it tried to pin the essentialists versus the non-essentialists against each other. And I think there's levels to it. You can't just be fully one or the other. But you can identify as someone who creates priorities and manages their time and uses small gaps in their time with intention rather than letting that time be filled with unintentional meaning. One of the rules that I see this apply to essentialism is pretty much the Pareto rule, or the 80% rule, which is 80% of your, or 20% of your efforts will display or contribute to 80% of your results. 80% of your effort, the other 80% of your efforts will contribute to the other 20% of your results. So it's important to understand that, it's not completely linear where all of your efforts align with your greatest results. There's going to be certain parts that create more value, and I think it's important to understand that, whether it's while doing, working on whatever you're working on, whether that's, I'm in college right now, or in your job, whatever you're working on. So the last thing I would like to point out is, I thought that, like I've said before with social media, I felt like I originally didn't really have priorities that I set in my life. So I naturally just thought, doom scrolling or being on your phone constantly was just a natural thing that I should value. And, well, it wasn't something I valued, it was just something that I happened to do because I didn't set my values. So I'd spend too much time on something I didn't really care about. But now I felt like I've eliminated that to a great extent, or pretty much I like to do small checkups with that to, check on how friends are doing and what's in the current news. So yeah, it can feel like fear of missing out, but really you're not missing out if it's not something that you value. So with that in mind, if you relate to that, I'd say try to come up with the things that you truly prioritize, and you'll realize that the things on the back burner that don't really matter don't need to be taking up your time, your free time, and living in your head rent free. That's all I have to say.